This is mob rule coming to America that Abraham Lincoln talked about so eloquently in his 1838 Lyceum address, and explained how this would undermine free government. It would make law-abiding citizens afraid to stand up to the mob. It would give power to those who are in the mob to dictate to the rest of society how they should think, what they should do. And I think that's really the danger of what's happening here. I think the far left in America wants to silence anybody who would dare question the narrative. This is not about truth. The truth is something that's dangerous to them.
It's not just Grant, but in Boston, protesters attacked the monument to the 54th Regiment. The 54th Regiment was the first all-volunteer black regiment that fought in the Civil War to help end slavery. It was made up of not only freed blacks, but slaves who had escaped the South, and yet these protesters attacked that monument. What that tells you, this is all about wiping out American culture and American history. It has nothing whatsoever to do with civil rights protests.
This mandate, I don't know how they're going to enforce it. If they're going to actually send law enforcement out and enforce this rule to wear a face mask outside. If they do that, then I think there's going to be a lot of loss goodwill from the public. I mean, I think that there's already a lot of credibility loss as far as public health measures go. So it is good to wear a mask if you're in a public area with other people and you can't avoid intimate spaces with other people. But to have a blanket requirement at all times, that goes way too far.
Whenever there's exculpatory information or information that tends to undermine a prosecution, and clearly these notes did, especially with respect to the charge he pleaded guilty to, had that information been given to his first set of defense lawyers, they wouldn't have advised him to plead guilty, because in fact he wasn't guilty, because the statements he made were not material to a perjury charge.
The history of the use of absentee ballots shows very clearly that they are the most vulnerable to being forged, altered, and stolen. Why? Well, because they are voted outside the supervision of election officials and outside the observation of poll watchers. And also, look, there have been numerous problems with the U.S. Postal Service. The idea that this is intentional, I think, there's no evidence. But we have seen plenty of evidence of problems caused, like I said, by the Postal Service.
Remember at the end of last year, they had said that there was an end-of-year deadline, that they would take some dramatic steps unless the U.S. capitulated to their demands. There's talk of a Christmas present, also a warning that they would unveil a new strategic weapon, and then nothing really happened. Now, that could have been because of COVID. We know that North Korea implemented very strict measures to try to prevent an outbreak there. They cut off trade with China. Even state-run smuggling was shut down. So, and then also Kim Jong-un disappeared for 2 extended absences, perhaps health problems. So it may be simply that North Korea is starting to implement the game plan that they otherwise would have done several months ago. So they're using this liaison office, sort of a quasi-embassy between the North and the South, as I think the first step to what will be a series of provocative measures.